Hi, my name is Brian Vizzusi. I'm a student at American Public University. I'm enrolled in Management 615, and we are doing an ethical news story for week 6. Here's my news story. This story begins back in September of 2015, when the German-based automobile manufacturer, the Volkswagen Group, was given a notice of violation by the United States Environmental Protection Agency. The EPA found that Volkswagen had failed to comply with clean air regulations after determining that one of the company's V6 diesel engines was emitting more pollutants than legally allowable. During the related investigation, the EPA discovered that Volkswagen illegally installed computer software on its vehicles to purposely cheat the emissions tests and then pollute during normal driving conditions. The initial estimates were that about 500,000 vehicles were affected between the years 2009 and 2011. Later reports actually show that about 11 million vehicles were affected. A few months later, the Volkswagen Group CEO, Martin Winterkorn, admitted the cars were deliberately programmed to falsify the emissions tests, at which time he took full responsibility and, of course, resigned. Within weeks of the media attention and the scandal, the Volkswagen market share dropped by a whopping 40%. And sales plummeted 25%. These types of events can seriously damage a company's reputation that sometimes have taken decades, maybe even a century, to build. In looking more deeply into the hows and whys of what happened during this scandal, we learned that that same CEO, Mr. Winterkorn, back in 2007, announced that he was going to partake in a very aggressive marketing campaign, and he wanted to be the global automobile leader in the world. And he was going to focus the market strategy on the United States. His unrealistic marketing strategy was that he was going to triple his sales in the United States within 11 years. It was also determined that Volkswagen at the time had a very unhealthy organizational culture. It was comprised of harsh and callous managers and leaders who pushed employees to their breaking point, to the point where they thought they had to cheat the system to save their jobs. The root of the problem that cost Volkswagen their corporate reputation worldwide, $25 billion with a B, billion dollars in fines, and sent more than a handful of their employees to prison, was simply an unhealthy and unethical corporate culture. Very sad. Companies big and small, here in the United States and abroad, need to take notice of the importance of creating an ethical organizational culture. The Volkswagen Dieselgate story illustrates what can happen when ethics take a back seat, no pun intended, over profits. One way in which to inoculate corporations from these sorts of ethical scandals is strategic planning. And that strategic planning must encompass corporate culture and ethical components. Strategic planning can be described as a long-term plan centered on improving performance and long-term growth. An example of a corporate culture that can be part of the strategic plan is something called conscious capitalism. This management strategy and organizational culture was developed by Whole Foods CEO John Mackey. According to John Mackey, conscious capitalism is about focusing on treating people and the environment ethically first. That's job one. And then job two is caring about profits. Being ethical and environmentally responsible, customers will want to support that mission and get behind something bigger than themselves. They want to get behind organizations that have high ethical standards and that treat the environment with care. Customers will even pay higher prices, which will, of course, be good for profits. In the context of strategic planning, conscious capitalism should be discussed as a viable overarching philosophy, culture, mission, and vision. This philosophy moves businesses towards long-term success and reduces ethical problems and dilemmas. That's the end of our story. Thank you.